National Hockey League. They are the 2012 Stanley Cup champions.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another post-game live here on Dime Dropper for the 2024 NBA playoffs. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe on all platforms, or especially on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video or go live. And, of course, you can listen to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and that is who I am mostly doing this for, because right now there's no way we're going to get a ton of people on YouTube for a live at this time. But I just got to do what I got to do and just get out the content, because it is our goal this postseason to talk about and break down every playoff game. So, yes, I am still on the road to catching up, and that is why I'm not watching the current game right now. But I know most of the people that are watching this video will not be watching it during the game, but will probably be watching it after or listening to it after. So I'm going to just keep on talking about games, one game from each series, the latest one that I've watched. Apologies for the delays. But again, it is my sole goal to make sure I watch every single playoff game. And a couple weeks from now, it won't matter when I talked about these games. So let's get to it. Live from Los Angeles, as always, super chats are turned on. If you want to drop $1 or a dime, any donation is appreciated. Make sure you follow your boy on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dime Dropper Pod. Now, live from Los Angeles, let's start with the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder game 2. Now, in this game, I started looking at it more from a Dallas perspective, because I figured, even though my prediction is Thunder in 7, Dallas is the team that has more experience. You know, Luka has been in the playoffs, has been in the conference finals. Kyrie Irving is a champion. So it's actually one of those interesting series where I think both teams would be disappointed if they lost. But I think like Dallas would be a little more disappointed. I don't really know. The thing is, Dallas doesn't have the same window, I would say, as OKC. Not that their window is closing anytime soon, but OKC, I mean, they've got one of the best futures in the league. Dallas has Luka, who has, could be the best player in the league in a couple of years. But Kyrie Irving is more, in his prime, twilight of his prime. So I think Dallas, having more experience, they would think we should beat the Thunder. Now, so I was looking at it from a Dallas Maverick perspective. Now, the one thing you needed to see if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan was Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic just playing better. They were not nearly good enough in game 1. Kyrie, shot efficiently, but he did not shoot enough. Then Luka was just horrid, re-aggravated, whatever injury that he had. And they hopefully would see if they could do a better job on SGA and the players on the Thunder, because their defense, just as good of a defensive team as Dallas has become, they looked good in game 1. Nah, you know what? They didn't. They didn't look that great defensively in game 1. They were okay. But I was just kind of watching that game neutrally, not enough focus on one team. And, LKC just had more weapons. I don't know what to say. But in this game, and towards the end of that game, they found something. And it was PJ Washington guarding Chet, and then having Gafford guarding Giddey or whoever they felt was a non-shooter. And the reason why they did that is it's the same thing that the Celtics do with Tatum guarding Evan Mobley, is they switch that action. So when Chet's getting put in the pick and roll for the pick and pop, they can just switch PJ Washington on an SGA, and then Derek Jones Jr. can just guard Chet. So the matchups, Dennis Jones Jr. on SGA, Gafford on Josh Giddey. So Josh Giddey, you're not really going to be using him in that pick and roll action. When they did, Gafford's in drop coverage, and you're not worried about Josh Giddey rolling or picking and popping. PJ Washington on Chet, as I said. Kyrie Irving guarding J-Dub. So in game 1, it was Derek Jones Jr. on SGA, PJ Washington on J-Dub. Now you have Kyrie on J-Dub, and I thought he held his own all night long. And then when they put PJ Washington in the pick and roll, then he would just switch on the J-Dub, and then Kyrie would take Chet for a sec. And when that would happen, sometimes they would switch out. Kyrie would find a guy close to him and say, hey, switch with me real quick. But when that happens, Chet's got to be more aggressive and looking to get the ball against these smaller guys and go to work. Because even if it's for a split second, he's got to be aggressive. That's not good enough to just give those up. On defense, in terms of coverages, Chet Holmgren was in drop. Jalen Williams from Arkansas was in drop. Derek Lively was in drop. Daniel Gafford was in drop. Gordon Hayward, when he came in, was just hedging on Luka, not switching. SGA, though, Jalen Williams, they were Kaysen Wallace. These guys were switching on to Luka. Of course, Lou Dort was guarding him primarily. and J-Dub on Kyrie. And then the Mavs were still switching 1 through 4. Luka and Kyrie on SGA and good players. And the big change in this game was Luka. He was a different player in this game. And he got off to a great start with 8 points, all in pick and roll. Just straight all in pick and roll. Had a couple of dimes because, they're going to make other guys try to beat them. The whole thing about the Dallas Mavericks is who's their third best player? How good is their supporting cast? Make the other guys beat you, not Luka and Kyrie. And Josh Giddey, he got off to a really rough start. And this is where you see, what some of the Thunder fans have been saying about Josh Giddey, hurting the offense and then defensively doesn't offer much. He was 1 for 3 to start the game, including an open floater he missed. They were just leaving him open. And then his defense wasn't great. He had a defensive 3-second violation. And just, there's certain players that just don't have their defensive antennas up. They don't really take that much pride at that end of the floor. And Josh Giddey, in my opinion, is one of them. He was just kind of in no man's land at times in that first quarter. So he came out, and immediately when Jalen Williams from Arkansas came in, he scored 8 points, 2 of them on threes, and Dallas took a timeout. It was 19-15, but Dallas answered back with an 8-0 run, and a lot of it was because of PJ Washington, who was absolutely incredible in this game. 3 open threes in the first quarter and a floater on a dribble handoff. He's got to knock down threes. He's got to play good defense. And if you're listening to what I'm saying, he's knocking down shots on offense. Defensively, he's kind of the key into what's making the Thunder's offense work so much harder than in game 1, having him guard Chet so he can switch on that pick and roll because he's so versatile. He can stay in front of SGA pretty decently and then still guard the likes of Chet Holmgren, who's almost a foot taller than SGA. So you got to love what you're seeing from PJ Washington if you're a Mavericks fan. It's insane the way he was like a 13th or 14th pick or 12th pick for Charlotte. One of my moms, give me a fact check on that. And we thought there was nothing really there. I didn't really think there was much there. I saw a mediocre 3-point shooter that had nothing to say about defensively with decent size. And then now all of a sudden, he's looking like the next Aaron Gordon or Andrew Wiggins for a contender. Just that glue guy that makes everything work. It's amazing what kind of compliment he has been to Kyrie and Luka. As far as Cason Wallace, when he came in, he was guarding Luka with Dort out. And the Mavs, as I said, they went on an 8-0 run, and a lot of it was due to their defense. Their rim protection between Lively and Gafford was good. As I said, PJ Washington blowing up those actions in the pick and roll. But also Kyrie Irving and Dante Exum, they were really sitting down and getting after it, making life tough on SGA. Dante Exum did take SGA for a good amount of that first quarter, and they went on an 8-0 run. After one, by the way, Jalen Williams had a really nice football pass down the court to Chet, who turned around and hit a long 2 at the buzzer at the end of the first quarter. But the Mavericks felt really good after the first quarter. Luka had 16 in the first. SGA had 13 in the first. And they made 8 3-pointers in this one. By the way, let me know if there's a lag. My computer's been getting a little hot again lately. So let me know if there's a lag for the people listening. By the way, super chats are turned on. If you want to drop $1 or a dime, any donation is appreciated. But yeah, in the first quarter, the Mavericks made 8 threes. PJ Washington made 3 of them. And then Luka Doncic made 4. As far as the Thunder, who were down 36-32 after one, SGA played the entire quarter and had 10 points. So picking up right where he left off in game 1. Now, second quarter, PJ Washington got things started off nicely with the nice contest on one end on, I believe it was J-Dub for a 3, then a dunk on the other, which led to a timeout for the Thunder. And Kyrie Irving, as I said just a second ago, I thought his defense was very good, especially off the ball. He was very alert, active hands, and the Mavericks went on a 9-0 run, and Derek Lively and Tim Hardaway Jr. were at the forefront of it. Hardaway Jr. making some shots. There was one time where Josh Giddey, who had poor closeouts all game long, was just getting blown by. There was one play where Tim Hardaway Jr. had a mid-range where he got by a bad Josh Giddey closeout, and then he attacked another closeout a couple possessions later, lobbed it up to Derek Lively. They went on a 9-0 run, and then PJ Washington continued to make threes. He had 2 more threes in the second quarter, and the Mavs went up 52-39. But then the Thunder responded with a little 10-0 run of their own. J-Dub hit a 3, and SGA had a really nice snatchback. And at this time, Derek Jones, he was getting a lot of good looks from three, and he wasn't really hitting. Kyrie was barely shooting the ball, and partially because he wasn't really forcing it. Chet, as I said, was in drop. Jalen Williams in drop. So it was a lot of drop coverage, but they were doing a good enough job in drop coverage where they weren't just letting Kyrie walk into jumpers. They were making him make the pass. And any good defense makes you make a secondary decision and stuff like that. So the Mavericks were doing that and finding guys for open threes because you're going to give something up if you're the defense with Luka and Kyrie. And that's exactly what they were doing. And they were making shots. 2 huge threes, by the way, by Josh Green to end the quarter. And I was looking at this game from a Mavs fan's perspective, and I thought they were very solid at the half. Really good offense, just maybe needed a little bit more Kyrie Irving. In the second quarter, the Mavs outscored the Thunder 32-30. SGA had 8 in the second. Jalen Williams had 8 in the second. And then for the Mavs, PJ Washington had 8 in the second. Luka and Kyrie only combined for 5 in the second quarter, but 10 assists as a team for Dallas in the second quarter alone. So they were moving the ball well, and that all begins with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. So Luka, despite all the limping and all that stuff, he still played so much better than so much better than game 1. And it wasn't even close. I don't know why NBA.com is messing around with me, not giving me my first half stats. All right, there we go. Daniel Gafford was 4 of 4 at halftime. A lot of those were just finishing on the roll. 10 points. PJ Washington, 19 at the half. Luka Doncic, 18 at the half. Kyrie Irving, 4 points only, but 7 assists. And then J-Dub with 14 for the Thunder, 18 for SGA. Both teams shooting pretty well, but the Dallas Mavericks shooting 50% from three, and that made a huge difference. So the score was 68-62 at the half. Now, third quarter, Mark Daigneault made an adjustment, and it was starting Aaron Wiggins instead of Josh Giddey. So now Daniel Gafford, are you going to guard Aaron Wiggins in movement off of threes? Now you have to respect that player, so you can't just hang around the rim. And immediately he hit a 3, and the Thunder started taking control of the game with Wiggins hitting a floater. They took their first lead of the game after trailing by as many as 14. And after Lou Dort made a 3 to make it 75-72, Dallas called a timeout, and you're starting to think, well, they've cracked the code. They've got Aaron Wiggins in the game now. They're going to start, running this up, basically. And then the Mavericks just stayed strong. PJ Washington made a big 3 right off of that timeout. And I thought that Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford throughout the quarter, when they did switch out on the perimeter, because when they feel as though a guy can switch on a Chet, they'll let Daniel Gafford test his perimeter chops defensively. And I thought that the Mavericks did a really good job helping, but also just staying in front and showing off the level of physicality that they now possess with this team. So what it really was to me was Dallas was playing against bigs in pick and roll, meaning that a lot of drop coverage for Luka and Kyrie to get their team good looks. Whereas the Mavericks were trying to make them just play a lot of one-on-one and nullify that advantage you get in pick and roll by preventing 2 being thrown on the ball with all their switching and the mobility of their bigs in Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. And in game 1, I did say that I don't think the Dallas defense is good enough compared to OKC. But if their bigs can move on the perimeter like that, then I stand corrected. When Derek Jones Jr. was out, Josh Green was guarding SGA, and I thought he was doing a pretty decent job. Kyrie had a huge steal denying SGA the ball and hit Tim Hardaway Jr. in transition for what was Tim Hardaway Jr.'s 7th straight point of the quarter. And he had more points at that point of the third quarter than in the entire playoffs combined. It was 87-79 on that bucket. OKC took a timeout. And then off the timeout, Kyrie got another steal and hit Tim Hardaway Jr. for a 4-point play. So when you talk about getting contributions from those other guys, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, Tim Hardaway Jr., who Mavericks fans have been kind of over at this point, comes in and has this huge performance off the bench, making shots when they need it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a must-win game, but man, it sure helps to be 1-1 and take home court advantage instead of down 2-0. And there was one huge play I thought that when I saw this, I knew the Mavericks had it. Josh Green had an offensive rebound, kicked it out to PJ Washington for an open three, and it was a bucket. And then Luka had an interception, then led to a lob for Derrick Jones Jr. The Mavs were really starting to flow at this point. And the Thunder, they stopped switching certain guys on Luka. It just became no small guards on Luka, just show and recover. The likes of Joe, Wiggins, Case and Wallace, just show and recover. And I thought the Mavs had an amazing third quarter due to the role players making shots, but also Luka and Kyrie Irving defending and creating shots for their teammates throughout the course of the quarter, throughout the course of the game. So in the third quarter, the Mavs outscored the Thunder 31-27. Luka Doncic was just 1 of 5 in the quarter, and Kyrie 1 for 3. But Tim Hardaway Jr. had 10 in the quarter, and they were 50% from 3 as a team. SGA had 8 in the quarter, but nobody else had more than 5 in the third for OKC. So again, you got to feel pretty good if you're Dallas at this point. And in the fourth quarter, you got to close, though. Daniel Gafford missed 2 free throws early in the quarter and then turned the ball over on a short roll read that led to 4 OKC points and was subbed out immediately. Derek Lively comes in the game and right out of the gate has huge defensive plays, contesting shots on SGA, protecting the rim, and made a huge difference in that respect. Luka hit a step back 3 where he was in the pick and roll to make it 104-95, and that led to an OKC timeout. But you started to see the response from SGA. He was going to try to make one last push and impose his will, but Luka Doncic answered with 2 big buckets in drop coverage, just doing what Luka does best. As good of a defender as Lou Dort is, when Luka's on and making shots, there's nothing you can do. And Chet and J-Dub, they were nowhere really to be found scoring-wise. They weren't making shots. They were held to a lot of contested jumpers. Definitely give credit to the Maverick defense, but they can be better. J-Dub can be smarter, can try to get downhill a lot more. And Chet Holmgren, when he's got those mismatches, if they're going to switch that action, he's got to be more aggressive. So this is where you're starting to see the flaw of the Thunder and why teams or people potentially didn't have them going so far. Who's going to be a clear-cut second guy? As good as Chet and J-Dub are, neither of them are a star just yet. And in this game, you started to see that even though Kyrie Irving was not scoring a ton, he was creating so many good shots, and he gets the attention of a star. And when Tim Hardaway Jr. hit a dagger 3, the game was over. The Dallas Mavericks get a huge win in Oklahoma City by a score of 119-110. Take home court advantage to Dallas. Let's read the lines. Actually, for the fourth quarter, it was a lower scoring one, much more defensive minded. The Thunder won it 21-20, but they shot just 33% in the quarter and 14% from deep. SGA had 7 in the fourth to lead the way for them. Luka had 7 in the fourth to lead the way for the Mavs. But yeah, no real standout scores in the fourth for either team. Dallas gets the win. Let's read the lines first for the Thunder. I mean, I have to say, if I'm looking at this from a Thunder perspective, actually, you know what? I'll read the lines first. Gordon Hayward, I don't really necessarily know why he plays. He played 4.5 minutes and just didn't register in anything outside of 1 rebound and 1 assist and 1 foul. He never shoots. I don't get what's the point of him. I think he's done. I loved Gordon Hayward. Loved him in college, everything, but he's done. Jalen Williams from Arkansas played 14 minutes, and you can make an argument maybe he should have played more. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists for him. But the thing is, when he's playing drop coverage and he's playing at the 5, he's just small, and Luka can get whatever he wants. And they got to overcompensate for him health-wise. But offensively, he looks great so far in the playoffs. 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. And then Isaiah Joe played 19 minutes, 7 points, 1 rebound on 3 for 5 shooting and 1 for 3 from deep. Cason Wallace played 21.5 minutes. Had 6 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals on 3 for 5 from the field and 0 for 1 from deep. And then Aaron Wiggins, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 1 block, 3 for 6 from the field and 1 for 3 from deep. I'm curious to see if he starts game 3. And then the starters for the Thunder. Josh Giddey played just 11 minutes. He had 8 points and 2 rebounds, so he did score a little bit. But he was a minus 20, which was the worst on the team. And yeah, his defense was just bad. Lack of spacing allowed Dallas to get away with what they were doing, and that was having Gafford helping and having PJ Washington guard Chet. So overall for the Thunder, I thought they were struggling more with the Luka pick and roll, which is the opposite of game one. They were struggling more with guarding Luka in the pick and roll than the Mavericks were struggling guarding SGA in the pick and roll. And in the first game, it was the exact opposite. So it's just crazy how much things can change in one game in the NBA in the same series. And maybe the key with the pick and roll is to involve Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins more to try to get Luka and Kyrie involved in the action more, because I don't think they went at Luka nearly as much as game one. But the times that they did, the Mavericks had help ready to go. So I thought that was good. However, I think the Thunder need to try to go at Luka more. Kyrie's held his own this entire playoffs defensively and this season. So it's really Luka more so. But Dallas, all right, let me finish the lines though. Lou Dort, not the best game for him. He had 5 personal fouls, and that hurt him a little bit. Played 33 minutes, had 8 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, and a steal on 3 for 8 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3. Chet Holmgren, he struggled in this one massively, and I thought he took a lot of ill-advised threes where, again, he can always get off a three because he's so tall. He can just shoot over the top, but contested three, I still don't think is a great shot. 11 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 4 turnovers for Chet on 4 for 12 shooting and 1 for 6 from 3. Remember, he is still technically in his first year in the NBA. It wasn't a good Chet game, and they're going to need better. And then J-Dub, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block, just 1 turnover. But he shot 7 for 17 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 4 for 4 from the foul line. They're going to need better from J-Dub. Going to need him to take some better shots, try to do a better job beating his defender. He struggled one-on-one. Maybe he's got to go at Luka more. I don't know. Again, second year in the league? So it's tough. And then SGA, I got nothing bad to say about him. I think he did enough. I think he was a little bit let down by his teammates. 33 points for SGA, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers on 13 for 24 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep, and 6 for 6 from the line. He is ready for the moment. Thunder shot 47% from the field, but 33% from 3, 94% from the line. The Mavericks, however, shot 7 more free throws and shot just 71% from the line. They did shoot 47% from the field, just like the Thunder, but 49% from 3, and that was a huge difference in the game. As far as Dallas, Luka was so much better. He was the best player on the court in this one, and that was part of the reason they won. So first game, best player on the court, SGA, Thunder win. Second game, best player on the court, Luka, Dallas wins. A lot of it just stems from that. And they got contributions from everywhere. Good defense all the way across the board, big play from their bigs, and big shots from their role players. And I looked at the three-pointers after the game, just the compilation of threes from both sides, and I only deemed 5 shots bad from Dallas. And there were 2 out of 5 on them. One was a contested PJ Washington 3 that went in, and another was a contested Luka 3 that went in. But not too many bad shots. All of them were created by the attention that Luka and Kyrie were generating in ISO or pick and roll. OKC, though, 9 I counted that were bad. 4 of them from Chet. Just as I said, I already talked about those. Just rushed and not open. And OKC was working later in the clock due to the switching of the bigs from Dallas. 8 of those 9 bad ones that I deemed were in the second half for OKC. So there you go. And then there were a lot of good open looks as well. But Dallas's other guys, so not Kyrie or Luka, 13 for 27 from deep. The other guys, not J-Dub, Chet, or SGA for the Thunder, 7 for 17 from OKC. As far as Dallas, Dante Exum played 6.5 minutes. It would be nice if he could start making a shot. He was wide open for 3 twice, missed them both, 0 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Josh Green played 16 minutes. Very good performance. 11 points, 4 for 6 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. Huge offensive rebound that led to that assist to PJ Washington. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., what a game for him. 17 points off the bench on 6 for 10 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, 3 for 4 from the foul line in 19 minutes. Derek Lively, his stat line doesn't do him justice at all. 2 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block on 1 for 7 shooting. He did not finish well around the basket, but in 20 minutes, he was had the highest plus minus of any Maverick, plus 18. His defense was exceptional, in my opinion. And then the starters. Daniel Gafford played 27 minutes, and I thought he was great finishing on the roll and protecting the rim and moving his feet when need be. 13 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, a steal and a block, 3 turnovers for Gafford on 4 for 6 shooting. 5 for 9 from the foul line, though. That's not good. He missed 4 of the 7 free throws for the team. And then Derrick Jones Jr., he really struggled from the field, but his defense on SGA is big time, and his rotations defensively as well. 9 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a turnover on 3 for 12 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3, 2 for 2 from the foul line for DJJ. And then in the fact that he didn't shoot well, I think he's only going to shoot really well in game 3. And I haven't seen anything of that game. PJ Washington, what a performance. 29 and 11. The best playoff game of his career, maybe the best game of his career. 29 and 11, 4 assists, 2 steals and a block on 11 for 18 shooting, 7 for 11 from 3, and 0 for 1 from the foul line in 40 minutes. What else can you say about him? Insane. Kyrie Irving, 9 points. That's insane that they won with him only scoring 9. 9 points, 3 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals and 2 blocks, 2 turnovers on just 2 for 8 shooting. And so part of that's the Thunder playing good defense and their guards doing a good job staying in front. And Kyrie, not, as I said, he's not as quick as he used to be, just get the step as frequently. But, man, he was making the right decisions because he's seeing multiple bodies. 0 for 2 from 3, 5 for 6 from the line, nearly a double-double, played good defense. And then Luka, my player of the game, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, 1 turnover, really solid on both ends. 11 for 21 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, just 2 free throw attempts, 2 for 2 from the foul line in 41 minutes. Huge win for the Dallas Mavericks. Wow, I was muted that entire time for the YouTube people. That's unfortunate. But basically, we're talking about Celtics and Cavs, and all I said was that the matchups were the same. Evan Mobley still guarding Jason Tatum to try to take away that pick and roll. Jason Tatum guarding Evan Mobley to try to switch that pick and roll when he uses the screener. And still no Jared Allen, still no Kristaps Porzingis. Celtics threw the first punch. We're up 14-5, but the Cavs went on a 20-7 run to make it 25-21, and it was Evan Mobley who was leading the way, finishing around the basket on the roll, finishing over smaller defenders, hit a pick and pop 3, and defending really well in drop coverage. He had 11 points in the first quarter, and the Cavs went on an 11-0 run to make it 30-21. Karis LeVert came off the bench and was doing good things, but I just thought Cleveland played with a sense of urgency on both ends of the floor, playing really good defense, getting to the basket. Now, a lot of that's Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, and also moving without the ball. And the other guys were playing well. The Max Struses of the world getting going. Isaac Okoro. But Evan Mobley, I mean, he really set a nice tone for the Cavaliers. And the thing is, when Jason Tatum was not guarding him, which is in transition when you're getting stops and possessions, when I believe when Luke Cornett was in, he would guard. Oh, man, I don't know. Yeah, he didn't guard Evan Mobley. He would guard Niang. So that's interesting. But Evan Mobley, he was getting off. Make no mistake, to begin this game. So the Cavaliers had 22 of their 30 first quarter points in the paint. So that was their side of things. Getting to the basket, Mobley was great. Donovan and Garland looking good. But I was looking at this game from a Celtics fan perspective because they're the one who is, it would be a travesty if they don't make the finals at this point. Drew Holiday was missing everything to start the game, and he wasn't even playing great defense. He was detached off the ball. He wasn't putting the same pressure that he normally does on the ball. And then everybody went cold when Jaylen Brown went out. They were just missing layups, and it wasn't like they were just settling like they normally do. Jason Tatum got to the rim a little bit. They were missing shots around the basket, so they kind of just went cold for a stretch. At the end of the first quarter, the score was 30-24 Cleveland. So at the end of the first quarter of game one, it was 40-34 Boston. After game two, 30-24 Cleveland. Evan Mobley had 11 points and played the whole first quarter. Donovan Mitchell also played the whole first quarter, but he was just 1 for 3 in it. So yeah, as I said, Mobley was leading the way. And then Karis LeVert came in and had 8 points off the bench in that first quarter alone. So really good stuff there from those guys. And then for the Celtics, the Jays combined for 14 in the first, Tatum with 8, Jalen with 6. But yeah, second quarter, a 9-0 run by the Celtics to begin it, tied the game at 30 in the non-Donovan Mitchell minutes, and Peyton Pritchard was doing a really solid job getting to the basket. They actually extended that run, and it made it a 16-3 run, and it started with the double big lineup of Xavier Tillman and Al Horford, and they were switching 1 through 5, even switching those guys onto Garland or Mitchell and just having guys behind them ready to go, meaning that they were just going big to hopefully just cover more ground. So even if Donovan and Garland have those bigs on a switch, make them drive, send help, kick it out, and have all that big mobile size rotating. It was working pretty well for a bit. Drew Holiday got beat. I made a note of this just because I wanted to hammer it in because I love Drew Holiday, but I also want to make a point when he's not playing as good of defense as normal. He got beat off the ball for the second time in the game. So the Celtics' attention to detail defensively was not super high in the first half. But the Cavs called a timeout after Peyton Pritchard got an offensive rebound and put it back up and in. They were up 42-37 at that point. And Jason Tatum was having a really solid half, attacking the rim and not settling, which he did a little bit in game one, even though they still won decisively. But Karis LeVert was doing the same on the other side, getting to the basket, getting downhill, taking advantage of when Luke Cornett was in drop coverage or Al Horford was around the rim because they're not too intimidated by that. But Al Horford, speaking of him, he had 3 threes in the first half. The only thing I'll say, though, Jason Tatum, he was doing a little bit of the Paul George stuff, getting the step for a sec and then making it too fancy by spinning back or taking a step back when he'd already gotten the step. And he's got a lot of Paul George in his game, good and bad. And I just thought the Celtics' big four were taking way too many contested jumpers within, no passes or one pass in the possession. And the thing with the Celtics personnel and how talented they are, they can move the ball and get a good shot every time down the court. So when guys like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, and Derek White think because they're so good, they can just, because they can make contested shots, they just settle sometimes and they don't make the defense work. And that's really not a good habit. So the Cavs led by as many as 8 in the first half. I'm sorry, the Celtics led by as many as 8 in the first half. The Cavs led by as many as 9. And to end the half, Jaylen Brown had a horrible play where he didn't hit Jason Tatum on the cut, and then he tried to shoot, lost the ball, and then fouled over the limit. So a rough little close to the second quarter for the Celtics. And in the second quarter, the Celtics did outscore the Cavs 30-24. So it was legitimately, and by the way, 8 points for Tatum in the second quarter as well. So it was a tie game at the half at 54. Jaylen Brown had 10 at half. Jason Tatum, 16. Al Horford, 11. But Tatum was just 3 for 10. And then for the Cavs, Donovan had just 6 points. Evan Mobley, 15. Darius Garland, only 5. Karis LeVert with 12. So Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell had 10 shots combined at halftime. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown had 10 shots each at halftime. So third quarter, Al Horford was in drop coverage, and Darius Garland hit a three to begin it. Then Isaac Okoro had a dunk to put the Cavs up 62-57, which led to a Celtic timeout. And on the other end, Al Horford had Donovan on him several times because remember, the Cavaliers, I think those are just cross-match situations or just because they had Evan Mobley. Oh, what happened was they started switching a little bit. So Evan Mobley would guard Jason Tatum on the perimeter, like a late switch. Donovan would be on someone like Al Horford, and Horford would not even look to post up. And then he also bricked 2 threes. And on the other end, Darius Garland started getting going, started creating. And Okoro started setting the screen. And when he was making threes, that was something that was a little bit problematic. Did he even make it? No, he didn't even make a three in the third quarter. But Okoro started setting the screen, and Horford was in drop coverage, and then Garland started getting into his bag. And he's been getting those looks all postseason long. He just hasn't always been making them. So now he's starting to make them in this third quarter. And the Celtics, on the other hand, are like, because Evan Mobley's doing such a good job around the basket and drop coverage, they're like, okay, I don't want to put Evan Mobley in the action at all. So they started trying to target the guards, mainly Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. And Darius Garland's hedging and recovering. And I thought he did a really good job hedging and recovering throughout the game to prevent any advantage from the Celtics. And Evan Mobley, it wasn't just the defense. On offense, he had a playoff career high in the middle of the third quarter after this 9-foot jumper he hit. And it was a timeout needed to be taken by the Celtics after Jaylen Brown got beat back door to make it 74-65. And then it was a 10-2 run by the Cavs with Darius Garland hitting 3 threes in the third quarter. And in addition to that, for the Celtics side of things, Derek White couldn't hit a three, but he took 2 really rushed ones. And there was one where it was on a Darius Garland pick and roll, hedging and recovering defensively. And Derek White was the roller, screen setter, and just shot a three that wasn't really there, meaning that Darius Garland had recovered. And so what ended up kind of happening was it was kind of the same thing as the Dallas game. Boston's attack doesn't want to attack a big. It's actually the opposite. No, it wasn't the opposite. I'm sorry. Boston is attacking guards, and they're not having that much success because their Cavs are basically keeping them in front. And you got to give Strus and Okoro a ton of credit. And the Cavs, they were just running the Celtics off the line all night. It was clearly a point of emphasis to not let them shoot threes. And their rotations were so sharp. And having Evan Mobley down there was really just basically funneling them to Evan Mobley. So doing such a good job in that respect. Remember, this is without Jared Allen as well. And you're seeing Evan Mobley play at the 5. So the Celtics were attacking the guards, but the Cavs were able to attack the bigs, the Cornets, the Horfords of the Celtics. Even with Tatum guarding Mobley so much, they were still able to do it. And Donovan, then he started attacking Tatum and just hitting not attacking Tatum, but he had Tatum on him several times and was just hitting contested jumpers. And I was just thinking Tatum and Brown got to step it up because Karis LeVert, he's been playing really good defense, by the way, for the Cavs throughout the playoffs. Every time he switches on to good players, he holds his own. And also, this was a backbreaker. Tristan Thompson comes in and gets 3 second opportunities for the Cavaliers. And that's what he's always done his whole career. Fight on the offensive glass. And then Donovan Mitchell had a filthy buzzer beater on a crossover over Tatum. So in the third quarter, the Cavaliers outscored the Celtics 36-24 to take command of the game. Donovan had a 16-point third quarter and played the whole thing. He really took over and was just going off. And he was good in game 1 too, but man, took it to another level in this one. He's been so good through these first 9 games in the playoffs. And then Darius Garland had 9 points and 2 assists in that quarter as well. And then for the Celtics, Jaylen Brown only got 2 shots off in the third. And then Tatum, he actually played the whole quarter and had 7 points in it. But Derek White, 1 for 5. Al Horford, 0 for 4. Celtics, 0 for 8 in the third from 3. So fourth quarter, they're going to need much better from the Jays. Much better. It started out with more Donovan. 7 points in a row, a bank 3, a spin move layup, and then a crossover into a Euro step to make it 99-83. Timeout Celtics. Garland was holding his own on D. Mobley had dudes spooked at the rim. Strus was hitting his three ball, and none of the Celtics were playing well enough, including Tatum on defense, who was not his usual self, whether in man-to-man or off the ball. The Cavaliers made a statement, absolutely smacking the Celtics in Boston, 118-94 in the fourth quarter. The score was 28-16 in favor of the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell was by far the best player in this game, had 7 in the fourth, as well as 7 in the fourth for Karis LeVert, 8 for Max Strus in the fourth. And for the Celtics, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, a combined 1 of 7 in the fourth. Jaylen 1 of 5. Tatum just played 4.5 minutes in the fourth. So the Celtics with a really bad loss. Let's look at the lines. Remember, I had Celtics in 6 in the series. For the Cavaliers first, they shot 55% from the field and 46% from 3, 69% from the foul line. So not even great from the foul line, but I have to say, really great shooting performance, but it was mainly because Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland were creating good shots. So if you look at all the games, a lot of it just starts with which stars play better and who does a better job defending those stars on a given night. That's really what it comes down to, because the stars are the ones that create the good looks for everybody else. So in this game, the Cavs guys were better. Donovan was better. Let's read the lines. George Niang played 14 minutes, had 4 points and 3 boards on 2 for 4 shooting. Marcus Morris had 4 points on 2 for 4 shooting in 16 minutes. Tristan Thompson had 3 rebounds and 2 assists, 1 point in 10 minutes. Then the starters. Isaac Okoro played 21 minutes and he was very efficient. 12 points on 5 for 6 shooting and 1 for 1 from 3. Continues to be very solid in the absence of Jared Allen. And then Max Strus, bounce back game for him, and they needed it. 40 minutes played, 12 points, 6 rebounds on 5 for 10 shooting and 2 for 7 from 3. And then Evan Mobley, his playoff career high. He was an absolute beast. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. No turnovers on 9 for 15 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, 2 for 2 from the foul line. Even had a beautiful up and under with the left hand against Al Horford in the first quarter. He was amazing. Such a great performance by Mobley in his third year. He is showing that he has gotten better this year and doing it and showing it on the big stage. So great stuff from Evan Mobley. And then Darius Garland, very solid bounce back game for him. They needed more. In the third quarter, he really took over, exploiting Al Horford in drop coverage. And it's not even like Al Horford was playing really bad defense. He started making shots. But they might need to step up a little bit, those bigs, on Garland the next game. Or the point of attack just needs to be even better. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Only 2 turnovers for Garland on 5 for 8 shooting and 4 for 5 from 3. So he shot very efficiently in 34 minutes. Then Donovan Mitchell, the man of the hour, the player of the game, unstoppable. A plus 38 in 39 minutes. 29 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, just 1 turnover on 10 for 19 shooting, 5 for 7 from 3. Wow. 4 for 6 from the foul line. Spida has been incredible. And now for the Celtics, who shot just 41% from the field, 23% from 3, 83% from the line. So that's a positive, 20 for 24. And I thought it was very lazy analysis that the TNT guys just kept saying the Celtics just missed a bunch of shots and that was the only reason they lost. I don't fully think that's why. I think that their process was not quite good enough. They were settling for a lot of shots. They were failing and getting good looks by putting the guards in the action. So either they're going to have to do better against the drop coverage of Evan Mobley, or they're going to have to just work a little bit quicker, releasing that ball to those guards in the short roll situations when they put Garland and those guys in the action. But a lot of it starts with their defense being better, and then they can get out in transition. They weren't getting stops the same way. And that comes down to Tatum. Largely, he was not good enough defensively. Of course, you don't have Porzingis, but Drew Holiday and Derek White and Jaylen Brown, they can all be better as well. So, yeah, I mean, the Celtics, their big four, they just got to make smarter decisions. Smarter decisions. Let's look at the lines for them. Xavier Tillman played 11 minutes, didn't get a shot up, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. He was a +6. Luke Cornett played 12 minutes, 3 points, 3 rebounds, 0 for 1. He was a -12. I don't think he necessarily was that bad. I just think that he was told to play drop coverage and it was exploited. That's all I can say. I don't think And it was a lot of jump shots, like, mind you, for the Cavs. And then Sam Hauser played 9.5 minutes, 2 points, 1 for 2 from the field. Don't have much to say about him. The starters all played at least 28.5 minutes. Horford played 29, had 11 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. I think it was a real tale of two halves for Al. He had a good first half. In the second half, he didn't make shots. And then defensively, he was getting put in the action a lot and wasn't really doing much to make things tough. 4 for 9 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. Shades of Steph Curry killing the Celtics in drop coverage with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. We'll see if there's any adjustment there. Drew Holiday, not quite good enough in this one. Had a good one in game 1, not quite good enough here. On either end, 4 points, only 4. 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Didn't turn the ball over, though, but 2 for 7 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. And then Derek White, not good either, and that's been rare to say in this postseason. 10 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, 1 block, and a turnover on 3 for 11 shooting and 1 for 8 from 3. That's a really rough game for him shooting-wise. And then the Jays. Both of them shot 7 for 17. Jason Tatum played 37 minutes. Jaylen Brown, 31. Jason Tatum was 2 for 5 from 3. Jaylen was 0 for 6 from 3. Jaylen was 5 for 5 from the foul line. Jason Tatum was 9 for 11 from the foul line. Brown had 4 rebounds. Tatum had 7 rebounds. Brown had 1 assist. Tatum had 6 assists. Brown had no steals. Tatum had 1 steal. They each had 1 turnover. Tatum had 25 points. Brown had 19. Neither were good enough. So it comes down to the stars playing better, and that includes White and Holiday on both ends of the floor. And the Celtics, I still have confidence they're going to win in 6 games. But that's not showing good signs. Now let's move on to the New York Knicks Pacers, and it was just another absolute banger of a game from the New York Knicks. I mean, they are just must-see television. Miles Turner on Isaiah Hartenstein to start the game. Nembhard on Josh Hart. Pascal Siakam on Achua. So no OG Anunoby in the game. Really sad. Aaron Nesmith on Jalen Brunson, mainly, not Nembhard, and Halliburton on DiVincenzo. And I'll tell you, Aaron Nesmith did such a hell of a job all night long, making things tough for him as much as he could. And then Isaiah Hartenstein on Miles Turner, Jalen Brunson on Andrew Nembhard, DiVincenzo on Halliburton still, just like the first 2 games. Precious Achua, who started in place of OG on Pascal, then Josh Hart on Aaron Nesmith. As far as pick and roll coverages, Miles Turner was in drop coverage. Isaiah Jackson also in drop coverage. Isaiah Harden in drop coverage, and Precious as well. Halliburton was not switching on to Brunson. He was hedging and recovering, but Nembhard, Nesmith, TJ McConnell, all those guys, Ben Shepherd, were taking the crack at Brunson. Now, we saw in game 2, Tyrese Halliburton made a concerted effort to be much more aggressive scoring the basketball. And it was right after I said, man, Halliburton, he only shoots threes and floaters. He's got nothing else. But, man, he's showing that in the role that he wants to play in his career, which I don't think is the number 1 scoring option on his teams, he can be a just 3 and layup and floater guy, just take what the defense gives, take the right shots and pick and roll. Doesn't have to be too much isolation. And he made 2 straight threes to begin the game, and you saw that transition was going to be an emphasis for Indiana, as it so often is, especially at home. They were up 20-8 at one point in the first quarter, but you know who makes the most timely threes and who had just another insane game when you thought, okay, they were so good in games 1 and 2, they have to cool down? Dante DiVincenzo. I don't understand how this motherfucker keeps shooting like this. 2 straight threes towards the end of the quarter, and some of them aren't even open, like they're in movement, like he's become like a Ray Allen now. He's coming off screens and shooting threes. But Halliburton, he had 8 points in the first quarter. Aaron Nesmith got off to a good start with 7 points in the first quarter and the good defense. Both teams are playing really hard-nosed defense. Obviously, good drop bigs in Isaiah Hartenstein and Miles Turner. And then the perimeter guys, the Josh Harts, the DiVincenzos, the Nesmiths, the Nembhards, all playing good D. The Pacers' ball pressure was really good, picking up full court at times like we've seen in this postseason. And you started to see minutes from Jericho Sims and Alec Burks. That's how, desperate the Knicks are at this point without Mitchell Robinson and OG and Randall. And Jalen Brunson got off to a cold start. 1 for 5 in the first quarter, 5 turnovers, and then re-injured his foot and came up really gimpy. So the Knicks, they are just really banged up. But I love the aggression of Halliburton, taking advantage of late switch situations when the ball is being moved and he catches it, attacks closeout, taking advantage of transition, just really taking what the defense is giving him and still trying to get the ball moving at the same time, which is the sign of a true point guard for me. But in the first quarter, the Indiana Pacers led by a score of 29-20. Nesmith actually had 8 points in the first, and Halliburton had 10 in the first. My apologies there. The Pacers shot 54.5% in the quarter, 44 from three. Knicks just 37% in the quarter, but DiVincenzo had 8 to lead the way for them. Now in the second quarter, DiVincenzo is still going nuts. I mean, just hitting contested jumpers over and over. And by the way, I was looking at this game from a Pacers perspective because they had to win. And some of them, the stuff that DiVincenzo does, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, he's got to cool down eventually. And there was a suspect stretch where Rick Carlisle went with a lineup without Halliburton or Pascal. That was a little sus, and I think it's because Siakam was in foul trouble. And then who had the most random cameo where he played the entire second quarter and was just amazing? Alec Burks. Came in and just started getting buckets, pull-up jumpers, attacked the closeout for a floater. I mean, he had an and one. I think it was an and one that I was talking about instead of the floater. That gave the Knicks a 36-35 lead. Then Halliburton came back with 2 straight threes, tough ones too, hand in the face to make it 43-38. And even though he had not that many minutes in the game, who I thought was really good? Ben Shepherd. He was doing all the right things, playing D, cutting, moving the ball. He had this one play where he rotated perfectly and then had a beautiful outlet pass. So really nice stuff from Ben Shepherd. He's got a pretty good future, high IQ stuff. And the Pacers went on an 11-2 run, 6 from Halliburton there and 5 from Miles Turner in pick and pop situations to make it 46-38. But the Knicks, man, they just don't go away. Andrew Nembhard at one point missed a couple of chippies on the same possession and then picked up a frustration foul, which got the team in the bonus. And then Rick Carlisle subbed him out. And the Knicks went on an 8-0 run. And then was led by Brunson foul baiting and getting to the line. And Brunson, I mean, he's an elite foul baiter too that we don't talk about enough. But then the Pacers clapped back with a run. 7-0. All Tyrese. First was an attacking of a closeout, then a transition layup, and then a transition 3. You could see his emotion on the timeout that New York called. That made it 55-49. So Halliburton just picking up the slack. And then Pascal had a beautiful buzzer beater with 0.7 on the clock at the end of the second. Oh, by the way, in the second quarter, Brunson had 11 points. Tyrese Halliburton had 13 points. But Alec Burks also had 13 points and played the entire quarter on 4-for-4 shooting. But you just got to admire the job that Aaron Nesmith was doing on Jalen Brunson. He was making life as tough as possible. As far as Pascal Siakam, I said one of the things that the Pacers need to do in that game 3 is get Siakam more involved. He has to be more aggressive, mainly on Siakam, not the coaching staff. He has to be more aggressive, attacking smalls and whatnot. And when he wasn't in foul trouble, he was great. He had 8 points in the second quarter, and a lot of it was him trying to post up. Then Turner had a good quarter as well. Defensively, rebounding, 9 points, 3 rebounds, and a block in the second quarter alone. Pascal only played 5.5 minutes in the second quarter and was 3 for 3 in it. So again, when he tries to post up, when he tries to work in that mid-range area, he can be awesome, the best scorer on this team. At halftime, the score was 63-58 in favor of the Pacers. So the Knicks outscored the Pacers in the second quarter. DiVincenzo and Brunson combined for 28 points in the first half. Alec Burks, as I said, he had all 13 of those first half points in the second quarter. Halliburton had 23 at the half, Turner with 12, and Siakam with 12. So Halliburton really carrying the load, and it didn't feel forced in any way. The third quarter, to begin it, Miles Turner continued to do some good things in the pick and roll, had a poster dunk over Isaiah Hartenstein, but then he started to cool down as the quarter went on. And every time it looked like the Pacers were going to make a run and kind of get out of the woods, Dante DiVincenzo would hit a 3. I mean, just so many timely threes. It was ridiculous. The Pacers, though, went on an 8-0 run after Halliburton made a 3 and then Siakam made a step-back midi. That gave the Pacers a 77-66 lead. But then these fucking New York Knicks, they don't give up. They just never say die. A 9-0 run in response that was led by DiVincenzo and Brunson, knocking down shots. And you started to see a lot of late switching throughout the game from Isaiah Hartenstein, meaning that he was in drop coverage and they were doing a good job defending. So Halliburton would pull it out. So then Hartenstein's guarding him. And then you'll typically have like DiVincenzo guarding Miles Turner. And one thing I love about Turner that I've seen so far in this series is that he's trying to get the ball against smaller guys throughout the playoffs. He's being aggressive, yelling for the ball so loud you can even hear him on the microphones. So I love that because you can't just be a pick and pop big and not take advantage of your size. Otherwise, you're just a catch and shoot guy, essentially. But the Knicks, yeah, they did go on a 9-0 run. DiVincenzo had an and one to give the Knicks an 85-83 lead. Then they went up 87-83, and there was a timeout called by the Pacers. I believe that was a transition layup scored by Josh Hart. And you started to see the Pacers get really rattled. And you know a team's getting rattled when they start doing everything that they were doing so well wrong. The ball's not moving. It's getting more stagnant. They're not rotating as well on defense. They're clearly out of sorts defensively. Guys aren't as attached. Guys aren't recovering quickly, realizing, oh, man, this is a scramble. I got to find the quickest body. I mean, all these little things happening at once is when you can tell that a team is mentally feeling it. And that's what was happening to the Indiana Pacers in that third quarter. It looked like the Knicks were going to take the life out of them. And by the way, Isaiah Hartenstein, so good. Just continue to be so good at the rim defending, pick and roll stuff. By the way, speaking of Harts, Josh Hart finally got some rest in that third quarter for a bit. But that third quarter, let's see, the Knicks outscored the Pacers 32-22. DiVincenzo had 17 in the quarter. Ridiculous. Brunson played all but 3 seconds of the quarter, had 6 points in it. The Pacers shot just 42% in the third. Halliburton, 2 for 6, 5 points in it. So nobody had more than 6 points in the third quarter for the Pacers. Just 2 shots for Siakam in 8 minutes, which is not acceptable. So, I'm looking at this more from a Pacers perspective. Going into the fourth, I was thinking you need more Pascal, definitely need some Tyrese heroics, and then can Miles Turner hit his open shots? And can the goddamn Knicks cool down a little bit? At one point in the fourth quarter, the Knicks were up 98-89. They were in command. But then that Halliburton guy, he bounced back and said, I'm not trying to go home like that. 7-0 run. It began with an and one, then 2 buckets around the rim, and then 1 on a steal. And then Siakam had 5 straight points. It was 100-99 after the third Siakam point in that stretch, an 11-1 run that they were on. And then a huge play, huge one. Miles Turner had a block that led to an Andrew Nembhard layup. So this was getting the momentum back in the Pacers' favor. So it really was all about Halliburton, transition, taking advantage of really solid defense from guys like Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard and Miles Turner. And then Brunson missed a layup at one point. Mind you, Jalen Brunson's been who I've thought is the best closer in this postseason. But he was missing some shots here in this fourth quarter. And when he missed this layup, it led to a Siakam bucket on a goaltend by DiVincenzo that wasn't actually going in. That put the Pacers up by 3. And then Jalen Brunson answered back with a contested 3 to tie the game at 106. And here we go again. Another thriller in this series. And then Andrew freaking Nembhard hits a step back 3 to give the Pacers the lead, to beat the shot clock. It was going nowhere. The possession was going nowhere. He hits a 3, and then Jalen Brunson takes a double clutch shot with 3 Indiana Pacer bodies around him. And what he should have done was made a quick swing to Deuce McBride. TJ McConnell was trying to guard 2 at once, but you have 3 bodies around you. Swinging to Deuce McBride. He makes the extra swing to Josh Hart for an open 3, and he's been hitting it all postseason long. So a little bit of a selfish play there by Brunson, but just an amazing Knicks game. And the Knicks only scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. The stars of the Pacers, Siakam and Halliburton, scored 16 by themselves in the fourth. So huge shot by Andrew Nembhard. The Pacers outscored the Knicks 26-16 in the third. What a game. Jalen Brunson finally doesn't close. 2 for 7 in the fourth quarter for him with 7 points. DiVincenzo and Josh Hart played the entire quarter and had a combined 4 points. DiVincenzo 1 for 5 in the fourth. Knicks shoot just 21% in the final quarter. And the Pacers, 7 for Halliburton in the fourth, 9 for Siakam in the fourth. So you got what you needed. And the Pacers win it. 111-106 to make it a series. Now, remember, the series hasn't started, though, because nobody's won at home yet. I was right. No one's won on the road yet. Let's read the lines for the Knicks. Even without OG Anunoby, the fact that they almost won is crazy. I think this would have been a total steal for them. But yeah, I think it would have been a total steal. I think Brunson just finally didn't close well. They shot 47.5% from the field. The Pacers shot 47% from the field, so very close, but they shot 9 more times. The Knicks shot 4 more free throws, shot 73%. The Pacers shot 83% from the line. Then the three ball. Oh, that three ball. Pacers shot 37.5%. Knicks shot 52% from three. Amazing. The Knicks, 4 minutes for Jericho Sims. He registered in only one category, and that was fouls. 4 minutes, no comment on him. 21 minutes for Alec Burks. He was really, really good. Should he have played more in the second half? He only got 9 minutes in the second half. He was 0 for 2. But yeah, he had 14 points on 4 for 6 shooting and 2 for 4 from 3, 4 for 5 from the foul line. Deuce McBride, his best game of the series thus far, hasn't exactly had the crazy series that he had like versus Philly. 10 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal on 3 for 8 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. And then the starters for the Knicks. 22 minutes from Achua. I thought he was fine. 5, but remember, I was watching it from a Pacers perspective, so not locking down the Knicks like that on both ends. 5.6 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 turnovers for Achua, and 2 for 3 shooting and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Isaiah Hartenstein, I thought he was very solid. 6 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 block, just 1 turnover on 3 for 4 shooting. And then the Nova boys, Josh Hart, another double-double for him. But he finally, for the first time this series, didn't play the whole game. 10 points, 18 rebounds. No offensive rebounds, though, for Josh Hart in this game. And the Pacers actually got more offensive rebounds than the Knicks. So that's huge because the Knicks always kill it on the offensive glass late in games. Josh Hart, 10 points, 18 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. He did turn the ball over 4 times, though. He definitely turns the ball over too much. 4 for 7 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3. Jalen Brunson, 26 points, 6 assists, 5 turnovers on 10 for 26 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3, and 4 for 7 from the foul line in 38.5 minutes. So he was not good enough. And a lot of it was the injury, but hey, give Nesmith credit. DiVincenzo, he was insane. 44 minutes played. He had 25 and I believe 28 the first 2 games. And then he tops that off with 35. 35 points on 12 for 26 shooting. 7 for 11 from 3. I believe that was the most in a Knicks playoff game ever. 4 for 4 from the foul line. Insane. For the Pacers, Isaiah Jackson played 13 minutes, had 4 points and 2 rebounds and an assist on 2 for 3 shooting. I know his plus minus looks horrific, but was that really his fault? I don't know. I don't think he was bad at all. Ben Shepherd played 15 minutes and 40 seconds. He was 1 for 5, but again, I thought he was pretty good. 2 points, 4 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal. And then Obi Toppin didn't have one of his better games of the playoffs. He's been really good in the postseason, but just 2 points and 3 assists and 1 rebound for him in this one on 1 for 4 shooting and 0 for 1 from 3 in 19 minutes. TJ McConnell still made an impact. Did not have one of his better shooting games. 6 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal on 3 for 10 shooting and 0 for 1 from 3. But the starters, this was really the starters game. They all played 30-plus minutes. Andrew Nembhard, only 5 points, but all of them came in the fourth quarter. 5 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists for Nembhard, including the go-ahead 3 that might be remembered for a very long time. Andrew Nembhard with the 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnover on 2 for 8 shooting and 1 for 3 from 3 performance in 31 minutes. As far as Aaron Nesmith, he was spectacular. 10 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, no turnovers on 3 for 6 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep, 2 for 2 from the line in 38 minutes. He was excellent. And then Miles Turner, really good game. Another great game 3. And by the way, both Pacers game 3 so far this postseason have resulted in basically game winners. Halliburton in the Bucks series, Nembhard in this one. And also good games for Miles Turner. 21 and 10 for Turner, including 6 offensive rebounds, 3 blocks, 1 assist on 7 for 13 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3, 5 for 6 from the foul line in 35 minutes. He was awesome. And then Siakam, you needed more, you got more. 26 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 3 turnovers, though. He was a plus 15. He was 9 for 14 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, 7 from 9 from the foul line in 31 minutes. The 5 fouls kept him out of playing more. Going to need to stay out of foul trouble in game 4 if they want to tie the series, because they're going to need another big game from him. And then Halliburton, the player of the game, the man of the hour, 35 points, another 30-plus point game for Tyrese. 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and just 2 turnovers on 14 for 26 shooting, 6 for 16 from 3. Jesus Christ, he shoots so many threes. But when it looks good when it goes in, just like I said in the last game. 1 for 1 from the foul line in 38 minutes. He's making me look the fool. And now, so good win for the Pacers. And now the last game to talk about is the big one. The Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves, game 3. So it's do or die for Denver. I was totally looking at this from a Denver Nuggets perspective. And man, they played with the level of desperation that they absolutely needed. Gobert was back from the birth of his child. He was guarding Aaron Gordon. Karl Anthony Towns was on the Joker again. Ant-Man on Jamal Murray again. McDaniels on MPJ. Conley on KCP. You know, that's been part of the course of this series. Jokic on Gobert. Gordon on Towns. MPJ on McDaniels. KCP on Ant. Murray on Conley, just like it's been the first 2 games. Towns was in drop. And Joker, there was an adjustment from the Nuggets. Basically, every single ball screen with Ant and Conley hedging on it. Nuggets were still switching Murray onto Ant and whatnot, but the Wolves, they didn't look for trying to get Murray switched onto Cat as much. And how you would do that, considering Murray is guarding Conley, is Karl Anthony Towns, Murray pick and roll. But actually, no, because they were hedging, right? And Jokic is guarding Towns. So that's the tricky part. That's how they kind of avoided getting Murray switched on to Towns. They were struggling with that. And also cross matches in transition. Because the Nuggets offense was so much better in this game, they were not allowing the Minnesota Timberwolves to get out in transition. So that was really good stuff there. So they were letting KCP, MPJ, Aaron Gordon's guard Ant-Man. They were letting that happen because they trust MPJ to guard a Karl Anthony Towns. They trusted Aaron Gordon to guard a Karl Anthony Towns, a KCP. Naz Reid was also in drop coverage when he came into the game, but Joker was hedging strictly. So that was essentially, no, we don't want Ant-Man getting downhill. We just want you guys to move the ball and rely on our rotations. And it was a foolproof strategy because Ant-Man did not get to the rim nearly the same amount. And I talked about how shitty Jokic has looked in drop coverage so far this playoffs. That was huge. Karl Anthony Towns, though, nonetheless, hit 2 early threes. But 2 fouls in 5.5 minutes on Jaden McDaniels did set a tone for how the game was going to be officiated. And the first 2 games, especially game 2, they were letting Minnesota get away with every physical play in the book. And in this game, it was physical, but it was not called the same way as those games. And that really favored Denver, giving him that extra space. You know, people were joking that they made a call to the league and stuff like that. But the main difference was Jamal Murray and Jokic. I talked about that they need to take care of the ball, but it really starts with Murray and Jokic. And Murray was the man. 2 mid-ranges and 2 layups where he went all the way with Gobert at the rim in the first quarter. That showed me the level of urgency and level of seriousness that they had to start the game. And MPJ was feeding off those stars, scoring 8 points in the first, and the defense was super alert. And the backside protection for Jokic when he was coming out. The rotations were sharp. And Jokic, he wasn't even that aggressive on offense. Just 5 points in the first. As far as the Wolves, though, I thought that they had to look for more of Cat getting mismatches. But here's the thing. The Nuggets were not letting Murray switch because of that. Because of the, Gordon guarding Towns. Okay, but if Gordon's guarding Towns, then technically they can switch if they run Conley pick and rolls. I just don't think they were doing the Conley-Gordon the Conley Towns pick and roll, because that would make, if they want to switch that, Murray guarding, Murray guarding Towns and then Gordon guarding Conley. They didn't really go to that enough. So that's something I think they should do in game 4. Super chat. Thank you so much. 50. I don't even know what kind of money is that. 50 from Wei Bin Lim. Thank you. He says, so difficult to catch you going live when you're 13 hours apart. Darn, thanks for all the content, mainly Clippers related this year. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Super chats are turned on. If you want to see me read your comment right away, I can. But yeah, the Denver defense was very alert. But yeah, I think they got to look for Cat more because Cat, he's got a mismatch against almost everybody down the floor. I mean, can he not post up Aaron Gordon? That's the crazy part. But the offense of the Nuggets was preventing the Wolves from getting in transition. That was the main thing to start the game. Second quarter, though, more of the same for the Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon was playing the small ball 5, and you know that sometimes those lineups have been a little problematic without Jokic in the game, but not so much in this game. The Wolves hadn't even been down 14 at any point of the playoffs until this game because Jamal Murray kept on going. Their offensive process was good. They were moving the ball with a sense of purpose, with a sense of energy, and their defense had a sense of desperation to everything that they did, and that is what a championship team is made of. When Joker was in drop, though, and it happened very rarely, it was like a bucket every time. So, again, when they kept him hedging, it showed or it made the Wolves have to make multiple passes to get a good shot. And they did get some good shots, but they were pretty cold. They were missing some layups, open jumpers, and Murray had a reverse layup that caused the Wolves to call a timeout. And Joker, as I said, he was not that aggressive, but there was a lot of Jokic in the high post, passing and carving the Nuggets apart, the Wolves apart with a lot of those classic Nugget split actions and back screens and whatnot. And one thing that changed with Gobert that actually hurt their defense was I thought that Naz Reid and Towns did such a good job of putting pressure on the pass from Jokic in the high post, meaning getting up to his chest and being all over him so he didn't have that big of a window to make a pass. Whereas Gobert, he's such a rim protector. His instinct is to back off and just kind of stay around the rim. Jokic is now getting those passes through and whatnot. So that was looking pretty good. The Nuggets went up by 20 after a Christian Brown 3. It was so good to see Christian Brown make a 3 if you're a Nuggets fan because he's really struggled in that respect this postseason. But the Wolves had a little bit of a run in that second quarter. Went on a 7-0 run, capped off by a Mike Conley 3. Starts with getting some stops. That leads to the offensive end. And Jordan McLaughlin came in randomly. I don't know why. Missed 2 open threes from either corner. But Murray, it was really the Murray show. Looking like the Murray we know. Weaving his way in pick and roll, hitting contested mid-ranges, and some actual bench help for the Nuggets. They needed it. Justin Holiday was one of the only players that played well in the second game, and he played well again in this one on both ends. As I said, when Jokic was coming out to hedge on those pick and rolls with Edwards and Murray, not only was he doing a solid job staying in front and not getting the corner turned on him, Holiday did a great job rotating at the rim, so then those passes were not just – you couldn't just pass to Gobert for a wide open dunk. You know what I'm saying? And when they went with the Towns pick and pop, they'd have Gordon switch onto the Ant-Man and nullify things. But yeah, the Wolves, they need more Towns. And Ant needs to put more of the guard. I thought he needs to put more of the guards in the action. Murray. It's KCP that's guarding him. So it's really put Murray in the action more. Not as much Jokic, because they're getting the ball out of your hands, right? You want to go one-on-one and just find the best matchup at this point. Naz Reid and Mike Conley were 1 for 7 at the half. MPJ had 12 at halftime. Jamal Murray had 19 at halftime. Joker had 7 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and just 8 field goal attempts. Just doing a little bit of everything in that first half. So looking at the first quarter stats, the Denver Nuggets outscored the Minnesota Timberwolves by a score of 28-20. And then in the second quarter, outscored them 28-21. So almost the exact same. Jamal Murray had 10 points in the second quarter. At halftime, they were up 56-41. So just great defense. MPJ had 12 points at half, as I said, and Murray doing his thing. Ant-Man had just 9 points on 4 for 8 shooting at the half. Cat, he made 2 threes in each quarter, and that was it. Just 6 shots, which was not good enough. As far as the Ant-Man, he's had these stretches where he's been quiet in games, but it hasn't come back to bite him at any point because he'll just take over the game eventually. And they hadn't lost a playoff game to this point. But in the third quarter, this is when I knew it was the Nuggets game. 3 threes from Aaron Gordon. 3 threes. And then he got an interception or deflection. MPJ made a 3 to make it 72-50. and a timeout was taken by the Wolves. Ant-Man tried his best, 10 straight points, or not straight points, but 10 points in the third, just trying his best. But KCP, I thought he did such a great job defensively. Gordon, the same on the backside and on the ball. And then Jokic really saw it in the pick and roll. And the Nuggets, they had that level of what can you do about them offensively, which we've become so accustomed to that we haven't seen the first 2 games. When it makes you feel like, man, maybe the Wolves aren't the better team. The Nuggets are still the better team. But here's the thing. They got to win game 4 or else they'll be down 3-1. So, like, there was one wraparound pass Murray had when he got hedged by, I believe it was either Gobert or Reed. He just threw it around his back. And then Jokic, so Aaron Gordon, he was also used as the roller sometimes, and did a good job on the baseline on that dunker spot as well. But Jokic had a strip on Ant-Man, and then the Nuggets slowed it down, found Jokic against Ant-Man on the cross match, and then he lobbed it up to Gordon, and that was it. So the Nuggets with a complete blowout victory. Ant-Man, being the amazing young leader that he is, was telling his team it's a series, don't worry about it. But man, a commanding win for the Nuggets to get some momentum back, but they still don't have home court advantage. They lose game 4, it's 3-1. They shot 76.5% in the third and 71 from 3. 37-25, they outscored the Wolves. 13 for Jokic, played the whole third quarter. KCP played the whole third quarter and made several mid-ranges throughout the game on dribble handoffs. He had 6 in the third. 4 of those came from the line, the foul line. And then Aaron Gordon had 11 points on 4 for 4 shooting and 3 for 3 from deep in the third. And Jamal Murray got to relax, to be honest. So that was it. Nuggets win it 117-90, a 27-point beatdown at the Target Center. For the Wolves, I mean, man, I guess I shouldn't. There's nothing to say. They just got to win game 4. That's all I got to say. This game wasn't theirs to win. Monty Moore, there was garbage time minutes for guys, but it's interesting they went with McLaughlin over Monty Morris. I don't know if that's the right choice, even though J-Mac's my favorite college player of all time. 0 points, 0 for 3 for J-Mac in 8 minutes. Kyle Anderson played 13.5 minutes, and he was missing too many chippies. 3 points, 1 assist, 2 steals, and he got a technical. 1 for 3 from the field, 1 for 2 from the foul line. And then the main 7. Naz Reid did not have a very good game compared to the first 2 where he was amazing. 7 points on 2 for 7 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep, which means he'll probably have a good game 4. Then Nickeil Alexander-Walker was kept at bay on both ends. Didn't do much with Murray this game. 26 minutes for him, 6 points, 2 assists, 2 turnovers on 2 for 5 shooting and 0 for 3 from deep. So it's amazing how a great player can make a great defender look so good one night and then so average the next. Thank you for the super chat for Tinito. 06 says Clippers champions 2025. Mark my words. Doubt it, but thank you so much. And then the starters. Mike Conley, not a very good shooting game at all. 10 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 3 turnovers. Not a very good game at all, I should say. 3 for 9 from the field, 1 for 5 from deep. And then Jaden McDaniels, he was in foul trouble. 10 points, 3 rebounds. He did shoot better, though. He hasn't shot well the first 2 games. 4 for 6 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. Then Rudy Gobert was kind of a non-factor, and he was also clogging the spacing a little bit as well, being around the basket, which was not the same as the other night. So I'm not going to go as far as to say as the Wolves are better without Gobert, but against the Nuggets, you always want to spread Jokic out a bit. So maybe this is not the best series for him if he can't do anything with Gobert. He's not going to guard him. 6 points, 4 rebounds on 3 for 5 shooting for Gobert, 0 for 2 from the foul line. Not the best game for him. Towns, for Towns to only shoot 7 shots is ridiculous. So he's going back to being Towns again. And the one that I said was going to happen in the playoffs. Oh, man. He was so good the first 6 games, man. Don't go away from it. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, 4 for 7 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3. You shoot 80% from 3, and 5 of your 7 shots are 3s is just, I don't know. You're only shooting 7 shots is crazy. Ant-Man only shot 15. 19, 6, and 5. 5 turnovers. The hedging bothered him a bit. 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. 8 out of his 15 shots were 3s. They got him to settle a little bit more. He's got to be better. So for the Wolves, that wasn't their game. The Nuggets shot 54% from the field and 48 from 3 and 85% from the foul line. They needed a hot shooting game because game 2 was not, and they got it when they needed it most. As far as the bench guys, it was really just Reggie, Holiday, and Brown that played for them. No Peyton Watson, and rightfully so. He hadn't been doing anything. Reggie played 8 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds on 2 for 4 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the foul line. Not much to say about him. 17 minutes and 36 seconds for Christian Brown, and it was his best game maybe of the playoffs thus far. 5 points, 3 rebounds on 2 for 4 shooting and 1 for 2 from 3. And then Justin Holiday with 2 straight really good games. His stat line of 6 points and 1 rebound and 1 assist doesn't do him justice at all. 2 for 4 from the field, 2 for 3 from deep. And then the best starting lineup in basketball for me, KCP with a really solid bounce back game. They needed him to stay out of foul trouble and guard Ant-Man, and he did just that so well. 37 minutes from him, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. 3 of those were mid-ranges coming off dribble handoffs from like the elbows. 3 for 6 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 6 for 6 from the foul line. And then MPJ, a very good game. He's been good in almost every game of the postseason. Game 2 was a rough one for him, and he bounced back nicely with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist and a steal, 2 turnovers on 6 for 10 shooting, 4 for 5 from 3, 5 for 6 from the foul line for him. Amazing performance. And then Aaron Gordon, 13 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 straight really good games for him after a quiet game 1, 5 for 7 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, just exceptional defense, and those threes were real backbreakers. And then Jokic, what a solid performance, what a bounce back. His playmaking was exceptional. 24, and his defense was the biggest step up to me. And it's showed in the stat line. 24 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, 3 turnovers on 10 for 18 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep, 3 for 4 from the foul line. I think you can go with either Murray or him as the player of the game, but I'm going with Murray because he set such a great tone. You needed Murray to be better. He had 24 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. Both Jokic and Murray had 3 turnovers, though, but they did keep the turnovers down as a team. Only 10 in this game, but you want to see them get maybe 1 less each. Murray shot 11 for 21 from the field, and the shots were not all easy at all. I don't even know if most of them were. 2 for 5 from the three-point line. Didn't even shoot 1 free throw. 48 points between the 2 of them. That was amazing. Huge win. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. And I know this is getting so annoying that I'm doing these so late and stuff like that, but I am getting closer. So tomorrow, same thing. Hopefully I'll watch 4 games again, and we'll be caught up very soon. Appreciate you so much, and have a great day.